Wow, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, a little bit earlier than our normal 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start, but it's well worth it. Material Issues, episode number 109. I'm Mark Hershberger over here in South Jersey, Pop Detective Records at your service. Joining me every week, as he always does, the man, the myth. He's got the new brightest smile. From the International Pop Overthrow Festival, Mr. David Bash. David, good afternoon to you. I'm going to say good day.
Well, it's actually good afternoon to you too, because it's not evening there yet.
It's not evening. We actually got an afternoon here in hot and muggy South Jersey. But
yeah, hot, muggy July. Nothing atypical there.
No, but a lot better than the massive rainstorms we've had the last couple of nights. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, pretty crazy. But cooled things off a little bit. We're all happy. We're ready to go. We're up to episode number 109. How you feeling, my friend? Everything good?
I'm still recovering from the oral surgery. I have a really big old sore in here, which, yeah, it hurts. Let's put it that way. Not healing too great, but apparently my gums in general are, and just kind of have to wait, realign stuff, and eventually it'll all be good.
Well, it's a process.
Now it's still a little weird.
Just like Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers, it's a process. So far, that process has been okay, but not great. But yeah, you'll get through it all, and you're going to come out the other side with a wonderful smile and happy, healthy teeth. So keep at it, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I picked up something a few days ago that's kind of cool. Jellyfish fans know that prior to Jellyfish, three of the guys, Andy, Roger, and Chris Manning, had a band called Beatnik Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, not as good as Jellyfish. I mean, that's a hard standard to live up to anyway, but it's kind of, it's sort of slick pop. It's all right. This is the original pressing of the album. Eventually, they got signed to Atlantic and had an album released had this album with a new cover and re-released on that. But this is the original one on, well, I don't even know if it's really on a label. It was just kind of Industrial Records, whatever
there we
that
go.
is. But the cool thing about it is on the back, it's autographed.
Oh, nice.
And I'm trying to, I've sent a picture to Roger just to see if he could authenticate it. Haven't heard back from him yet. I mean, if this is from back in the day, I mean, who's going to fake an autograph by a band nobody's ever heard of? So it's more than likely real. But yeah, I mean, cool. You don't find this kind of stuff around.
No, not at all.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was a new reissue by a band that I really love, and I think a lot of other people would if they don't know them yet. Stackridge.
Mm-hmm. Great band.
Do you know Stackridge, Mark?
Oh, I love Stackridge. Yep.
Yeah, Stackridge. This is their second album called Friendliness. And you want to talk about prog pop. This is right there. I mean, it's as much prog as pop, as much pop as prog. The main guys, James Warren and Andy Davis, eventually put together the Corgis. I always thought it was pronounced Corgis. I was told it was Corgis, soft G. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it is. Actually, I do know. I've heard the guys say it.
Really? I don't know what a Corgi would be, but I've heard
it's probably
Corgi dog and Corgi.
It's
toys.
Probably them being a little cheeky because they even a Stackridge, their lyrics had a bit of cheekiness to them, but as the Corgis, especially on the first album, they were very silly. But anyhow, that's another great band. But this is really cool. It's a 2-disc reissue on Esoteric, which is a subsidiary of Cherry Red. First disc has a remastered version of the album. Second disc has singles and B-sides, a few live tracks, and so a lot of stuff that you didn't see on CD prior. Just very highly recommended to anybody who likes early 70s melodic pop with some prog in it. I mean, yeah, this is where it's at, guys. So
nice.
Anyway, it just came out. Hopefully, those of you who like that kind of thing will pick it up. So let's see. There's that. I just posted on Facebook the link to pre-order the IPO Volume 24 compilation. So you can pre-order it from Omnivore, and I really would extremely highly recommend that you do. And so yeah, just go to my Facebook page, or just go straight to the Omnivore website, and you'll be able to find it there. I use extremely highly recommended for a reason, because our hero Bruce Brodeen has effectively closed up shop. So he ain't going to be posting about pop no more.
Right, man.
So no more Pop Geek Kevin, no more Not Lame, no more anything in that realm. But he will be back doing something having to do with music. We don't know what it is yet, but he's told me that is going to be the case. So, with Bruce, you never know. So let's look forward to whatever it is. I'm sure it'll be great. Yeah, I know.
Hey, Andy.
It is early, Andy. Yes, we did it all for you.
Wait till you see where our guest is sitting. You'll enjoy that, Andy.
Yeah, maybe he's close to you. I don't know. No, Andy doesn't live in London, so he's not. But
all right.
Well, he's closer to Andy than he is to us.
Yeah, true. That's true.
But let's bring this said guest on right now. I've known him for a long time. Really good guy, amazing singer-songwriter. Has had several bands, most notably Wanderlust, who was one of the first pure power pop bands to get signed by a major label in the 90s. Mm-hmm. They got signed to RCA and released their debut album in 1995 on that label. He's also had another major label act called Feel, who were signed to Curb Records, subsidiary of Warner's, and also, of course, headed by Mike Curb, the guy who basically put the Osmonds on the map.
Right.
He's also had other bands like Bachelor Number One, who had a really cool album out, and I'm trying to remember if it was ever actually released, or I just have a copy. We'll have to ask our guest. But not only that, he's put out several solo records. He's made a film. He's written a book. He's quite the Renaissance man. And now he's touring Europe, plying his wares to people in the UK, and then in the Netherlands, and all that good stuff. So without further ado, please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Scot Sax.
And there he is. And there he is.
Beautiful background with like actual cars going by. Look at that. Folks, this is the UK right now, and it's 9 o'clock there, and look how bright it is. Isn't that cool?
It's blowing my mind. This is the lesser famous road. It's not Abbey Road. This is Abbey Lane. Not as popular, but to me, it still means a lot.
Wasn't there an actress named Abbey Lane? I thought there was.
Well, good to see you. How is the jet lag treating you, Scott? Everything good?
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, I'm here with my wife, Susie Brown, and our kids, and it was great. It's very similar to being on your first tour with a young, stupid band. We're watching Peppa Pig at midnight and eating cereal, and it's very similar. So I was like, yeah, I know this life. I can do this.
Trying to keep your daughters in line is probably like trying to keep some band members in line, right? It's all about the same.
It's the same. I'm telling you, it's literally the same thing.
When does the tour start? Tomorrow?
Yeah, as far as the dates, yeah. Streatley is the area, and you'll have to go on scotsax.com on the tour page, because Susie does all the booking. I just keep walking forward, holding my guitar.
Well, we're scrolling it across the bottom right now, scotsax.com. That's the information. You can click on the button that says tour, and you can find out where Scott's going to be playing live.
Tell me where I have to be.
Yeah, tell Scott. Drop us.
If Susie wants to join us, she's more than welcome.
Check the website and let Scott know where he's playing tomorrow. Yeah. Hey, George, good to see you. Well, former Philly people. I was always a fan of Susie as well, and of course the two of you end up in a wonderful marriage with 2 kids. So good on you, Scott.
It's a great thing. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. And I wanted to tell you, I was watching last night. We'll get into it shortly, but the Platinum Rush. What a great film you put together.
Thank you.
And I want to get into more of that in a little bit because there's some interesting things in there I'd like to talk about. But another well done project. But as we normally do here in Material Issues, we like to kind of rewind all the way back to the beginning, give our watchers a little sense of where Scot Sax came from. You grew up Plymouth Meeting. Were you in a musical household? What was your musical beginnings?
It was, nobody played an instrument, nobody sang, but we loved music. I didn't know we loved music more than anyone. I just figured everybody was like that because how can you not love music? Or and just the bands to choose from, especially for my parents and my older brother, 7 years older than me. Pretty good stuff coming out. So it was just a big part of growing up. Simon and Garfunkel's song would be on the radio, and my mom would just like repeat the line and go, ooh. That was her, sail on, silver girl. And she would just go, So little things like that, really. It was a lot of times I speak to other musicians and songwriters. They either grew up singing in church or their dad played guitar and they taught them. But mine was really just my family were just such fans of great songs. That was my inspiration.
Right. Yeah.
Do you see yourself as more of a 70s music guy or a 60s music guy?
Man, I guess ultimately 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately 70s. As much as I worship the 60s, I was on the way flying here. I just downloaded a couple things from Spotify that comfort me the most, and I downloaded Wings' Greatest, that first thing that came out in the 70s. Oh my God. Listening to those songs on headphones, because as you get older, you listen less and less on headphones. I don't have that kind of time where I could just space out and listen to music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I was just like, oh God, it's not as great as I remember it. It's greater, especially when you have recorded as much as I have at this point and played music as much as I had written songs. It's still just like you can't even touch it. You can't touch it.
Well, didn't you say you were born in 1975 in the Spectrum?
I did. Not 1976. Yes, I felt like I was. Yeah, that was. I refer to that as my actual birth, not what's on my birth certificate, because my dad took me to see Paul McCartney and Wings in 1976. I was 11 years old, and it's still, I would say, still the thing that just makes me feel alive more than anything else. I just love it so much, and it doesn't change ever. And I know it's very similar for everybody. Music you hear when you're growing up and all that, it just doesn't sound dated to me. It just doesn't. It sounds like what today's artists are striving for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's great. It's just greatness. What it is.
And it's good that you had parents, especially your mom, who would tune into a lyric or something and encourage you to hear that and to like that, or to at least listen to it and get an opinion on it. And I always tell friends of mine who have younger kids, always back them up in what they're listening to in their music, because it means a lot to them right now at the time they're listening to it. And don't be critical and say the 60s or the 70s or whatever.
I never do. That is the last thing. I am so polar opposite of that. I don't do it, and I don't think it either. I don't listen to Taylor Swift and think that it's not great. It's great. It's really, really great. I get it. I get the whole thing. We went to see Taylor Swift, and it's phenomenal.
Yep.
She is their Beatles, and
exactly.
That's just that simple, man. It's just that simple, and it's great. Great songs, a great singer, great performer. You know, if it was somebody that was depending on effects or had a team of songwriters, I wouldn't give it a hard time, but I would, I would be a little half in, half out. But it's not. It's somebody who works their ass off and writes those songs.
We were talking recently on Facebook about, everyone agrees that the Beatles are timeless and that 100 years from now or 200 years or whatever, people are still going to know who they are. And we asked, is there anybody from this generation that could possibly fall into that category of timelessness? And to a person, the answer was Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm. I think Billie Eilish is going to be around. I think there's huge things to come. I think she's going to make a masterpiece.
Okay.
I think she's I mean, that girl sits on the edge of her bed and opens her mouth. And if you've gotten together with this, I don't know how often you guys have sat in a room with another songwriter or an artist that wants to do this, wants to do that, and you're sitting there and you're waiting for the magic to happen, and they're turning into wallpaper. Or even it's so rare for someone to have that kind of gift. To not only, with the Beatles, they could have been a band that wrote great songs and played great, but when the sound went into your ear, just didn't feel great. Mm-hmm. And there's so many ways that you cannot be the Beatles. Let's write a book called All the Ways You Cannot Be the Beatles. What if they, it could have been, there are some people that just have an abrasive sound, Mm-hmm. I mean, Bob Dylan's my second favorite artist of all time, but if it was 3 Bob Dylans harmonizing,
right.
You know what I mean? It's just the luck of the draw. So somebody like Billie Eilish, it's just like her and her brother, they're making this kooky thing in the bedroom, and it's just the world hey, if the world responds to it that hugely, something's going on. You can't pay for that. It doesn't matter who you know.
Yeah,
they say, just ask Frank Sinatra Jr.
Yeah. And as rare as that gift comes along for somebody or a duo or whatever it may be, it's also extremely rare for that person then to also get discovered to a point where you can actually get that music heard by a regional group of people, let alone a worldwide group of people. So you talk about 1 in 13 million chance of any of us being born. The chances of you having that kind of talent and having it widespread are probably in the same ballpark, And,
absolutely, yeah.
Yep. With that in mind, Scott, if you had to choose somebody who you've worked with or just who you know that just because of bad luck, but had everything else, should have made it but didn't, is there somebody you would choose?
I mean, there are 2 artists now that I work with. I'm trying to think back, like to my LA days when I worked with 1 million people. But right now there are 2 artists that, one is named B. Taylor, Beetaylor, and the other one is named Angel Snow. Mm-hmm. And they are phenomenal songwriters, phenomenal artists, they are born to be stars, born to be, everything and anything that can come from that kind of talent. So I think they are, and Angel Snow has had success for sure. I know she wrote a song that Alison Krauss covered, and she just has something like, she just did a cover of Tom Waits songs, actually. And it's just brilliant. So those 2, who's really good, a guy I wrote with. I didn't write with him. I was gonna maybe make videos for him. I don't know. We just cross paths in New Nashville, but his name is Philip Creamer. I don't know if that crosses by your radar at all. I think his act is just called Creamer. That guy's unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
Write it down.
Yeah, really, really great. And I'm sure it'll pop into my head, but Mark T. Engberg is very good. He's a little like me in that he's like, especially me in the last 5-6 years, which is like, I'm, life is so ridiculous that I almost do comedy more as much or more than I do music. I've really been on this road now. What's that?
No, we were just laughing.
No, I'd forgotten to mention that when I introduced you. But yeah, I didn't even know that about you until I read it. So.
Yeah, I have a show called Join with Video. Yeah. That's it's on Nashville's local CBS at 3:30 in the morning. It's that time when you get up and you're like, I think I have to throw up. We're there for you. On your way to the bathroom, just stop on the couch, put on Channel 5. That's our mark.
It might quicken the process.
Yeah, we'll induce that vomiting for you, buddy. So I do this show called Join with Video, and it's like it's inspired by Second City TV.
Oh wow!
Like, not the kind of thing where somebody goes, "I saw the funniest thing my whole life last night." It's not that. It's I saw something last night. I don't know what it was. It was really off-putting. It was disturbing, but I remember laughing at one point. That's what our show. So it's called.
Can we find them on YouTube right now?
Yeah, we have our own channel called Join with Video, and it's amazing. No one took that name, which is either a compliment or an insult, but I decided to call the show that because when it started, I was, and by show, it's like filmed sketches and then sort of interludes. And it changes, we changed the channel for you. I remember, I don't know if it was like what was that movie? Not KFC, but it was like UHF.
UHF, yeah, UHF.
And then there was Amazon Women on the Moon was another one of those kooky things where it just goes staticky and then it goes to another bit. We kind of do that. We're like, you probably want to change it around this point. So we just change it and it goes staticky and it goes to the next skit. But me and a couple people were meeting about this idea of having a show. At first we were going to call it Lowering the Bar. But anyway, every time I hadn't done many Zooms at that point. I was still like, what do I test the what? But every time right before you go on, it asks you if you want to join with video. So it was at one point I went, you know what? That's the name of our show. That's what our lives have become. We're happy that you've been born and you're in the world while we're on. But the big question is, do you want to join with video?
That's awesome.
So we thought we'd show that,
and you can click on it at scotsax.com. There's I think it's under the comedy section. It takes you right to the join with video. I was watching a bunch the other night. Really good work when we get to the video stuff too. But Noelle Hannibal says hello and Genius Scott. She's checking in. Funny. Very nice.
We do. Cool. Yeah, I just did an album with Noelle. It's awesome. Can't wait for it to come out.
What was I gonna? Let's go back a little bit again to when did you write your first song? When did you know you wanted to be a songwriter?
Well, I think I knew I wanted to be a rock star before I knew I wanted to be a songwriter, and I think I wanted to be a rock star so much that I just made sure the songs didn't suck.
It's a good start.
I just was like, this has to happen because I saw the poster. My brother, again, is 7 years older than me. So I don't remember a time when I didn't know that there were cats out in the world like Mick Jagger. And I'm 7 years old and there's this picture of him. And then I see a picture of the Stones. What is it called? December's Children?
Yeah, December's Children.
I just was like, oh, this is beyond cool. I just was sold on the whole, like, oh man, I definitely want to be in that category. But I played drums. I don't remember how I learned. I don't remember anyone teaching me, but I was a good drummer pretty damn early on. I just could do it. It's more like people telling me how it all evolved because I don't remember. I just always have drummed. And then my parents bought me a drum kit at one point, when I was like 8. But when I was 13, I just, so 13, I think I was playing drums in a band, and the only song that we knew how to play was Freebird. And
it's always convenient, right?
Yeah, well, it's a set. That's a set length, So my mother thought I wrote it, because she just figured I had to live up to really good songwriting. She thought, well, you wrote Freebird. What else you got, kid? But I love that song. I mean, I'll take the studio version. The studio version is more like it's a great song, and I love the acoustic guitar when it plays the D. I love that song. But I mean, I'm not like, if somebody shouts it out. Actually, my policy is I will play it. You shout it out like a joke, I'm playing it from beginning to end, buddy.
I've had a few bands at IPO at least start it, then they go.
Yeah, I know. They always no. I do the full live, unedited version. I'm talking 3. There's no other people with me on stage, but I'm covering it.
Until someone screams, "Stop playing Freebird!"
I'm like, hey, tell your buddy in the audience. I'm just a jukebox. You're putting the quarters in.
Good one.
So
wonderful.
But when I was 13, I was drumming in a band. We played Freebird, and I guess because the song, I loved playing it, but I guess because the song is so long and I'm playing, and that I was like, well, I was thinking to myself, like, well, I don't want to be here. I want to be up there. That looks like the place to be. Even though these days, I actually enjoy playing drums more than like anything else in the world. I mean, I love fronting the band, but drums, I can't believe I can do it. I still can't believe I can do it. It just blows my mind that I can do it, because drummers are cool, and I'm like, I can do it. I think I'm cool. Look, it's just unbelievable. It feels so great to be able to just do that. So, but when I was 13, I was like, I think I started to dig on Bob Dylan, and I mean, I was already a David Bowie, Beatles freak, but the Bob Dylan thing really just like got me, and I had to have a guitar. Also, it was actually, it wasn't long after the McCartney and Wings concert, because what I asked for was a 12-string Ovation. So I think my first guitar was not a practice 6-string, but a 12-string Ovation, which is not easy to play. And I loved it. And I think the very first song I wrote, I was reading a Beatles book, and McCartney said that the first song he wrote, I don't even know, I can't remember, they're like, Hey Little Girl, or something like that. But it was G7th, and C. And this was back in the day, obviously, when you couldn't go on your phone and type it in and listen to it and look at it and see a demo of it, see a cover band doing it and seeing him do it in a concert and seeing, I had never heard it before. No one had. And so I wrote a song. I knew those 3 chords or figured them out to learn that, but I made up my own song with those chords. And that was the first song I ever wrote. It was my imagination of what McCartney's song must have been like.
What was it called?
It's true. I was smart enough. Looking back on this, because I was about to be really embarrassed, because I was like, oh my God, did I call it I Love You? Because that is just lame city. But even then, I knew good marketing. No, because it went, I love you. Oh, do you know it's just true? And all obvious words, but I remember calling it, It's True. I knew, no, you can't call that.
I love you.
I've written with people over the years where like they'll have somebody had a song called Yesterday, and I was like, I can't do it. You can't do it. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you can't do it. You're not allowed to. That's theirs.
Right.
And you can't do it. And then there's people also that do not like No Reply, but just something else that's just like they've taken care of that. It's like the Holland Tunnel. Yeah. You can't build it. They don't need one. They have the Holland Tunnel.
Right.
You can't name a song Yesterday. Forget it.
But But haven't you seen that though from a lot of different artists where you're looking at Spotify or whatever, you're perusing and you see a title and you're like, oh my God, they did a cover of this iconic song.
Right.
And you click on it and you're like, oh, that's not the
Yeah.
song. Yeah.
Well, that's, you know what? That's the bittersweet thing. That's when you realize that, like, we're on a boat and we're floating away, and here comes another boat. It's funny because the girl I was just talking about, a woman I was talking about, Angel Snow, not her latest one because it's Tom Waits covers, but the one before it is called Low. I mean, like, in a millisecond, I'm like, should I tell her? Should I tell her David Bowie had an iconic genre-changing world, thing with Eno, and because that's way up there in my favorite albums of all time. And then I realized it's the word low. He doesn't own it. To me, he does.
And is her demographic a whole lot different than the demographic that would know?
Yeah,
low?
you wonder if even the artists themselves know. She probably didn't even know.
Yeah,
he doesn't know. No way, not a clue.
Yeah, and so and therefore it probably doesn't matter to her and her demographic. So you could probably be an Angel Snow and come out with an album titled Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That might matter a little bit.
Right.
That one just has more of a ear-catching, remembering ring to it. But
as Mark knows, Scott, there's a band in the 80s called New Music with music with a K. On one of their albums, they did a cover of All You Need Is Love. And right afterwards, they had their own song called All You Need Is Love. So they're kind of joking about that whole concept.
I like that. I know a guy from Philly that he wrote like an additional section for All My Loving.
Whoa.
I was like, you're going to get struck by lightning. You can't
do that.
Did you not see the police, the barricade? I couldn't believe it. I know, it's insane. God love him. Lost his mind. But I just was like, I think he wrote a bridge for it. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah. But, I think the interesting thing about the David Bowie thing, and I'm kind of like, as we're talking, I'm just sort of like dialing through the also dated Rolodex, like anybody knows what the hell that is. But I remember, like, and I don't know if this is kind of interesting. I don't know if this is the case or not. Maybe you guys would know. But I remember that in the late 70s, that was when sort of minimalism was kicking in. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, in New York, they would have the shopping bags that said bag.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? You know what I'm talking about? That was like a new thing, right? And I remember when Bowie's album came out, I just was like, what a cool can I curse on here? I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, what a cool motherfucker. Like everybody's trying to be him now. It was already 77, and everybody's trying to, Gary Newman, and everybody's trying to be futuristic. Well, Bowie's done with that and already moving on. But I remember with that album it being called Low, and I was like, that's fucking awesome. And then the single from that album, it was so weird for the world at that point anyway, but the single was Sound and Vision, and that also was just so, I mean, the line is, don't you wonder sometimes about sound and vision? It was like, whoa, so simple. So I don't, I don't know if before that was done. I know that, like, John Cage was like didn't he have an album of silence?
I don't know.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah, something where there, it was just nothing there, and yet it sold.
Well, John Lennon had the 2 minutes of silence.
He had 2 minutes of silence. Yeah. It's hard to say because David and I have interviewed so many people from the 60s and into the early 70s, and there is so much out there that you still don't know about. And some people might have heard of it, and some people, especially someone like Bowie, who had his hand on the pulse of all kinds of stuff and knew what was going on. That who knows what he was influenced by to do that, if at all, or if it was just from his own.
There's a very, very good. There's a little bit of there's some light shed on that. I can't think of the name, and I think it might just be one of those like David Bowie's bookshelf or something. But it's like a orange book. It's like that big. Anyway, and it actually traces a little bit of the music that influenced him, but lyrically, it traces like it. Bowie made a list of his favorite books at some point, like off the top of his head, at that point, and the author of this book like delved in and was like, this is where that connected with that, and you can trace where these things came from. It's really interesting. There's also a book by Nicholas Pegg that's by far, hands down, the best David Bowie book of all time. It's not like an opinion thing. It's just every detail to every single song, and that is a really fun book to read by Nicholas Pegg. But yeah.
And even finding that kind of information is amazing. Unless you keep diaries and things, I was always amazed. I wish I would have done it myself, but Michael Palin of Monty Python, from like day one, he's kept a diary, and he's got volumes and volumes on his shelf of everything, every day that he's lived, all through the 60s and into all the Monty Python years, and so he can go back and trace everything, which is amazing, and
that is.
It's unreal. So I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, and I can't.
I actually.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, David. No,
I was
going
to say, I want to move things into the 80s because I get the. Stop it, Alexa.
The definition of sorry is a feeling of sorrow.
I didn't call on you.
You wanted to go into the 80s?
I want to move things into the 80s.
She's already like, sorry is not a big enough word for the 80s.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a feeling you weren't that thrilled with what was going on musically that decade.
Me, no. I hated and I don't hate. I'm not a hater in general. I'm just not. I hate hating. I'm not a negative Nelly. But it was, I think, because I was such a true blue, hardcore fan of David Bowie while growing up, nonetheless. So you got two things going on, like hardcore and my age. So it's like a sealed deal forever and ever. I even saw him in The Elephant Man. My parents took me to see that. I sat in a small theater and watched him 3 yards in front of me for 2 hours. It was just, it was a whole amazing thing. But so much of the 80s, to me, when it was happening, was knockoffs of David Bowie. And it was tough. It was tough for me to see. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but like guys wearing makeup that didn't look good. Like David Bowie looks like a gorgeous whatever sex you want him to be. He is just stunning. I always say, I'm not gay, but if I was going to try it once, probably be with that guy. I mean,
no doubt he knows things. So, no doubt he knows stuff. Sexually,
yeah.
So you could go.
Take the wheel. Yeah. Take the wheel. So I don't know. I just couldn't buy it from other people. I did love. I'll tell you. I loved I liked the Human League stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Loved. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's, I consider at least the first 2 years of any decade is actually the decade before.
Right.
1962 is the late 50s. 1982 is late 70s. It just is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's arbitrary. Just because we go into another decade doesn't mean things change musically. Just like
midnight, that. Yeah. Because, the Pretenders, I think the Pretenders album their first album was 1980.
thought it was 79, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
It's 79, 80.
Yeah.
But, the 80s, I don't think really changed into a lot of that Human League, Heaven 17, electronic stuff till about, 82, 83. There were still bands putting things out 81, 82 that were all guitar, bass, drums. Even we had Deborah Iyov of Romeo Void on here, and Romeo Void had Never Say Never, which was great.
I love that.
Jagged guitar, saxophone before things got real dancing.
So let me rephrase. I will say that late 70s obviously were amazing. My favorite year in music is 1978.
78.
I can't argue with you about that, Scott. I might choose 79 because of all the power pop that came in, but 78 was really awesome. And the Pretenders album was 79, just FYI.
Oh, okay. There was some album that was 80, and I was like, really? I love, now somebody from one of the pop Facebook pages, I just got turned on to. Maybe David or Mark, you saw it recently, but I had no idea about, and now I'm spacing on their name, the guy and the band that was responsible for like 3 or 4 songs on Linda Ronstadt's Mad Love.
Oh,
because that album.
No.
What did you say?
Not Elvis Costello.
Well,
no, I just read about this the other day. Gosh,
no, I don't know. Yeah.
No, you'll know them, David. I'm sure you know them, and you don't even probably know that they influenced that album. But it's I don't.
Yeah.
What are they called? You got to look it up. And they wrote the title track, "Mad Love." I bet you guys will know them.
What, Moon Martin? No, not Moon Martin.
No, not Moon Martin. I just read this the other day. Gosh darn it! Now I'm gonna dream about this all night long.
I love that Mad Love album a lot. That's a great.
Yeah, it really is. I just never knew who wrote the. What about another a turn in the 80s to alternative? What did you think of REM and all those offshoot bands?
I liked REM. I'm trying to. I think I always had a tough time. It's weird. I always had to do one or the other. I had to go with stuff I was listening to at the time, growing up or in my 20s. I was either in like a Dylan phase, and which meant other than Bob Dylan, I'm just like, I don't know, maybe like All Things Must Pass and the Bob Dylan albums, and maybe listened. I loved Steve Forbert. I loved Joan Armatrading. Yeah, I loved I don't know, all that stuff. And then or I was like glamming it up or funking it up. And I love Prince. So come on. That stuff was just tore my head off. And I think in the 80s, I was going that way so intensely that I wasn't getting as into bands like REM as I probably normally would. I just was so blown away. And I was also like, 97 pounds and kind of could work the Prince angle too. So I was like, doing me, buddy. I mean, I always say Prince wrote one of the best power pop songs of all time, which is When You Were Mine.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
But I love REM's, by far my favorite REM song is Don't Fall.
Oh, that's awesome. God, beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whew.
I know. So when did Wanderlust form, and how'd you meet the guys?
Formed in 93. I think 93, because I think we were together 2 years and then got our record deal, which was wild. We met them. I was really disillusioned. I was I just couldn't figure out how to break through the wall, just get from nowhere, nobody, which shouldn't be the case. As a dad now, I never want my kids to think they're nowhere or nobody, whether it's because they don't have a record deal or a certain job, or I'm even sensitive to songs that are like, without you, I'm nothing. I'm like, don't. No one should be like, yeah. I mean, I've been that way a million times, but I'm like, as a dad, I'm like, I hope they don't depend on somebody else to feel like they're somebody. But I just couldn't figure it out, and I was trying as a solo artist for so long at that point. Still in my 20s, but it just seemed like forever because I hit it like from 13, picking up a guitar. I was a songwriting fool, and so and I got a little bit of interest here and there, and then I just finally was like, I think I need to be in a band because I felt like going on stage as I just remember like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, Scot Sax. I would go up, and I remember being like, don't say it so loud. Just you don't even have to say, like it was too. And here he is, B. Scot Sax. I don't know why. As much as I was like, oh hey everybody, check out me, aren't I great? I really deep down didn't really feel that way, I guess. And I was like, I think I'll shine better within a band.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll also keep me from my songwriting. Sometimes was all over the place because I loved Prince, and I did love a lot of REM stuff. I loved the Knack. I know every syllable and second of that album. But I couldn't quite narrow it down to like, what do you do? What do I do? I just loved such different things. I loved, Tangled Up in Blue as much as Sign of the Times or whatever, which I've morphed together. We work perfectly. I'm telling you, it's so great.
Well, a mashup, you mean?
I do that. Yeah, I do that sometimes on stage. In France, skinny man died of a big disease with a little name. Early one morning, the sun was shining as I was looking up. It's the same song, man. It's so cool.
Our friend Andy Hartley had chimed in. He said that the Linda Ronstadt thing. That's Mark Goldenberg of the Cretones.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
There you go, Andy.
I remember them. Yeah.
You know them, yeah. So you got to listen to the Cretones and then listen to Mad Love. I mean, not that she couldn't make anybody's songs. I mean, Linda Ronstadt, you kidding me?
Yeah.
But he took the Mad Love, and Cost of Love.
Yeah.
Cost of Love. That's one of the best power pop songs of all time, in my opinion.
There were 3 Cretones songs on that Mad Love album. Yeah.
Yeah. Mad Love, Cost of Love. Yeah, there's one other.
There's one other one.
Girls Talk.
Not Girls Talk.
No, Elvis Costello did Girls Talk, Party Girl.
Yeah.
Man, I can't remember the other one from the
No, I think Dave Edmunds was Girls Talk, right? Yeah.
He had the hit with it, but Elvis wrote it.
But Elvis
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. That's right.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I that's how Wanderlust formed, and then I just went back to like the square one of like, I'm gonna look in the paper, I'm gonna walk around to the clubs, I'm gonna hear people play, through those little, avenues, we somehow found each other, and I just was, I was blown away that it happened, and I went for it like I never did before, because now I had something that lived up to what I believed I could be a part of.
Yeah. Well, and again,
how quickly did things gel between you?
Yeah, that's the part that blew me away more than anything. It was as Rick wrote, just what I needed. But it really was. It wasn't. Oh yeah, cool song. Everybody, let's play along with Scott's cool song. It was like bringing something new to it. It just was bringing something new to it. Rob brought something really new to it, and Rob's voice harmonizing with mine made my voice sound better than it ever did. It just did. It was like it sounded better than it ever did, and it also quite literally locked me in as a singer better. Like it sometimes I would just get, I don't know, like it was a great support for me. It just locked it in. Like I couldn't go wrong. It was just, it rode with me.
Wonderful. Yeah.
It was such a cool thing. And like I was saying, with acts where they, it was like, I've always been confident in my songwriting. I like my songs. I'm a big fan of my songs. That's why I always do it. I'm just like, wow, I love this kind of song. I'm glad I made it up because I want to hear this kind of song. But I struggled with like, do I sound good? Do people like the way I sing? With Wanderlust, it clicked, and then it was just like, wow, this sounds really good. Also,
I don't mean to interrupt now, but you're so dark that we can you move this inside maybe so that we can see you, or is there a light?
When I go dark, man, I just go dark.
Yeah. Wait till the conversation goes dark.
Yeah. I'm gonna grow fangs in a second. I can do that. Yeah. Hang on a second. I hear you. Well, I guess it does. I guess it does get light in London at some point. Here, you know what? Let me see if I can get light. But in the meantime, you're gonna be between one fern.
Between one fern.
Yeah. Wait a second. I don't even know how to get the angle here. There we go. There's your between one
balcony.
I know, I really am. All right, hang on. There we go.
Live on Material Issues.
Yeah, do a commercial. I'll be right back. Let me figure this out.
That is so funny. Oh, my goodness gracious.
We're at the 51-minute mark, and we've just barely gotten to Wanderlust. But we knew Scott would have a lot of anecdotes and insights and things like that.
No, we're having a great time. It's a great conversation. But that's exactly right. I forgot. I just completely forgot that 3 of the Cretones tracks were on Mad Love. And I forget what I had to hear. What's the Cretones album?
They had a couple of albums but
I have it in my collection. Thin Red Line. And
I remember not really being into them at the time. Now I may have to revisit now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull that album back out. I don't think that's been released on CD at all either. So
I'm not sure.
Interesting. It's because they were part of that. I think I got that album kind of the same time I got the Producers.
Oh yeah.
Couple of those bands, Fizz Pop, Bottle Rock, whatever that was called. Interesting stuff.
All right.
That brings back memories.
Now you're even darker than you were. I only see the fern. I see the fern with a couple of eyes.
That's me. No, that's me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Fern.
Not Fernando Perdomo either, but
who's that? Is that somebody?
No.
Oh.
Wait, you mean when you say in town, you mean Los Angeles?
We're talking to Noelle right now.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. Good. She's covering me. That's great.
Yeah,
you want to play? I have an open slot.
There you go. David's working out a deal with Noelle for International Pop Overthrow as we speak. It's
oh, nice. That's where it all starts, Noelle. Where it all starts. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm going to do 2 things here. 1, I'm going to plug my phone in so the phone doesn't die. And 2, I have some kind of light. Okay. All right, this is good.
There we go.
Right.
We're getting better.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. Hold on.
Oh, wow. There you are.
Nice. Oh, I love the whole, what's laughing with Artie
Artie Johnson.
Artie Johnson. Can you say very interesting but stupid?
Interesting. It's amazing what people got famous on back then. That's all he did was say very interesting.
Sock it to me.
Sock it to me. That was Flip Wilson, right?
That was everybody on Laughing.
That was a whole Laughing thing. Judy Carn was the one who started it.
Oh, really? Sock it to me?
Yeah, and she would do she would say sock it to me, and then they would douse her with water or some other thing.
Yeah.
And then Richard Nixon was on. He's like, sock it to me.
Sock it to me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sock it to me.
Yeah, not much of a sense of humor that Dickie had.
No. With the name.
The roads we go down. I love it. God, Noelle's gonna play IPO LA. There you go.
All right. Send me a message, Noelle. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Why is that not?
Hey, you had the light. Where'd it go?
Suck
I
it.
saw the light. Todd Rundgren must be a favorite of yours too.
I do. I love Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, I mean, from your neck of the woods.
I know. It's amazing, actually, how I was thinking about this at some point, which is like how close a lot of these things, like location-wise, were to me, that were huge influences and that I loved so much. One being like, David Bowie's David Live album was the Tower Theater, which is like
Tower, yeah.
25 minutes from where my bedroom was, and I worshiped that album. And then as is Young Americans, and Todd Rundgren, man, I mean, I'll be honest, there's something about me and pop music that I go to a certain point and then I like make a left and go to the Bob Dylan world. I think that's kind of what, and I think that's partly the reason for Wanderlust not making a bunch more power pop albums and not continuing on in some ways. And I think it's, so when I speak with people about music and power pop and all this stuff, they, Big Star comes up always, and Todd Rundgren, and I love Todd Rundgren, but Todd Rundgren is an artist for me. Like I love some of his songs so much that I'll take those over anything else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't listen to a whole album. I don't listen to I just don't. I can't. It's too. I think there's a certain kind of artist. It's so rich, it's like T-Rex. I will play, Electric Warrior, 5 times in a month, and then not for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so T-Rex. I can't keep listening to it. It's just so amazing. But I've eaten it. I've tasted it, and then I go somewhere else. So I'm similar to Todd Rundgren.
I'm definitely a Jeepster for your love, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. I used to drive around with Roland Bolin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In LA. He's the only person I ever wrote a song with that was, some people, I know Lennon used to keep the TV on when he was writing songs, and I totally get that, because you don't want to just be like, I'm writing a song right now. This is the song I'm writing right now. So he probably was like, I think he used to like Benny Hill or something, but I think that's I get that. And even with the Beatles, whatever else was on then. But I've never experienced anything like when I wrote with Roland. I think Roland Bolin and I wrote like 2 songs, but I wrote with him, and I thought that he was going to take the needle off the record when we decided to actually start writing a song, but he didn't. So a record was playing, and coming out of the speakers while we're writing another song.
Wow.
That was some tricky shit.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
I kept going like this. I just was like, when's it gonna change? You can't, this is insanity. So hard. And then I kept thinking, it's Mark Bolan's son. It's Mark Feld's son. Feld's son. This is his son. This is his son. You got to write a great song with him. I'm like, it's so tricky. They're doing this on purpose. I finally get to write with somebody that close to T-Rex, and they're playing a record at the same time. Isn't this always the way life goes?
And Scott, did you, with the whole power pop thing in mind, did you see Wanderlust as being a pop band, a power pop band, or a rock band? Did you? Because a lot of times back then, people didn't like, a lot of rock bands did not like the word pop, and major labels didn't like, even though you did get signed. But did you see yourself? Did you market yourself more as a rock band or a pop band?
A rock band.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't market ourselves as anything. We were just playing music. But the label, the label. I don't remember the name. I don't remember the name Power Pop coming up.
It really
but
didn't.
No, but man, honestly, I think that, and to your credit, David and Bruce's, and I've said this before, and I will always come back to this. When we were on RCA and we had I'd say 19 minutes of fame. I think it was more than 15. I think it was legitimate.
Yeah.
And we were doing very well, and for a minute there, and I do remember the power pop thing being like kind of coming after us a little bit, and we would get people saying, certain that we were Big Star fanatics, and we never heard of them.
Yeah.
Literally never heard of them, and then we would get a little bit of a Jayhawks thing, and we would
I can hear that. I hadn't even thought of it until you just said it, but I hear it now.
I can too. I think that the singers in Jayhawks have that sort of like warbly voice or something. Yeah. But I remember that, and then I think that we, we're just, there's always things that'll scare you, like when you're trying to hold on to something that may put you in the light that you want to be in, or just to put it even, simpler, to be able to make records for the rest of your life and not have to like figure out like some kind of job or try to change what so when you're signed and on a label like RCA, it's really, there's a lot of stuff that I never want to go through again and haven't, thankfully, but it's it's pretty exciting stuff. You're like, wow, this is kind of the thing, like we're those guys now on the other side of that line. And I think with power pop, it was a weird thing, but the power pop scene was which we didn't know that much about until then. We met up. David introduced himself to us, and we found out about him. He found out about us and Bruce Burdine, and it was like, well, I just remember thinking like, they look like they're having a lot of fun over there, and we're not really having that much fun, but they're in this sort of like kitschy thing that I don't know if anybody gets anywhere, but they're having fun. God damn it! What And it was like, it was a little back and forth. It was confusing, It's like, I didn't want to tell RCA to go F themselves. We're going to be a power pop band. I just didn't know what to do. I will say that Rob, musically speaking, Rob was and will always be more power pop than me. Not because little Willie won't. Dude, I love that stuff. Hardcore. And I think that stuff's as good as Blowing in the Wind. And I'm not just saying that. I think it's hard. I think it's hard to write a great song, no matter what genre it is. I put those on the same level. But I think because Rob didn't have the Bob Dylan thing in him, like I did. I don't think Rob ever, I don't know. I just don't think he wrote that personally. To be honest, I still don't think he does. I think he writes really fun songs and they're melodic, but nobody, I don't know. It doesn't tell me anything about him at all. He doesn't ever, I don't know what he's writing about, but I don't know where that person is. I think he's a great musician, a great harmonizer, and has millions of great ideas. But I never felt like it was that thing couldn't sustain us. And I didn't want to keep doing that over and over either. And I just had too much drama and a little bit of the crazies in my head that I wanted to write about. I needed to survive with that. And I just don't think Rob had that. So that's where we sort of split down the middle. I think he would have been into it, like, let's make another album. A power pop album or whatever. Because I guess Prize was. I didn't know it was, but it was. I think it was. I do remember trying to figure out, how to how do I succeed? How do I write really like very melodic kind of songs, but it's the grunge scene. And the three things that influenced me probably the most as far as figuring it out, like how do I do it? I can't be who I'm not. But there's some, and it was Teenage Symphonies from God, the Velvet Crush album.
Wow.
I remember seeing them. It was the album. Yeah. Oh, okay. It was the hang on a second. It was the them live. I saw them at Dobbs in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And now you're dark, Scott. You were actually good up until now.
Oh, I know. I had to let go of my amazing lighting, but I think, but being the director I am, you're going to be very, very impressed. What happened?
See, this is all just a big setup, David. He knows what he's known what he's doing for the last hour.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just do the dark and mysterious bit. Yeah, that's best I can do. But when I saw them, Velvet Crush at Dobbs in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
it was so loud, but they were playing like melodic songs, and I was like, oh, I didn't know I really didn't think that was a thing you could do.
Yeah.
Like strum chords really loud through an amp. I didn't realize that, so I loved that. And then I loved Midnight Oil. I saw that concert. That was like a two Rickenbacker. That was kind of a power pop band with
I
a
love
singer.
Midnight Oil. I agree with
you. It was like a power pop band with a singer on a mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
was being on RCA, being on a major, being signed, so to speak, everything that you thought being on a major was going to be like, just the other side of everything?
No. It was kind of a drag. It was
all too familiar story, but yeah.
It just wasn't. Well, I mean, I'll always love, Peter Robinson for signing the band and Dave Novick for discovering the band. Dave Novick was, did a lot of cool stuff. And there were great, I'm not going to badmouth the people that let open the gates for us, but they were the least musical people I ever knew.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily Peter Robinson, but I don't know. They weren't really, so, and then we made the album before we got signed, first of all. It was done. So then you weren't allowed to record, and I remember they didn't want us to tour anymore. It was still 1995. The album came out in 1995. So they said, because they switched people at the label, they don't want to pay for tour support anymore, and let's just start on the second record. I mean, it was like January of '96. They want to stop and start on the next record. So it was really a bummer in that way, and a lot of times things are like that. In Nashville, you play music. It's in a way like I play less music in Nashville than I ever did in Philly or LA. You do. You know why? Because you want to get together with somebody and they charge you.
Okay.
Wow. Everything it's work. It's not. You're not with your buddies at home. You're at a place where it's a gig and it's money. And that's kind of a bummer, but I will let you in on a secret. It's so secret I can't even show you my face. It's like deep throat. We got to call this secret interview with Deep Throat of Power Pop.
Go ahead from Hotel California. That's what it looks
You're
like.
obviously Bernstein, so okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely Bernstein. Let's be honest. I managed to find myself in a band that I founded or whatever, but I'm not like I'm the drummer. This is current information.
Yes.
And I will send you a link to this. I will leak you a link to this. And I stand by everything I'm about to say. I think that I think I have found myself and I don't know what's gonna happen because like honestly, we all have kids, we all have young kids. We just I don't know. Even if we didn't, I'm not gonna like go out on the I don't know. Who knows how it works in music anymore, but I am a drummer and co-writer and co-singer of a band called Chaos Kids.
Yeah, there you go, Noel.
Noel just popped it up too.
And we recorded. She's like one of maybe 3 people in the world that are aware of it. And we recorded 8 songs. And I'm so glad there's a traffic jam. I'm getting some headlight love over there. I really am.
Headlight love. There's a song title for you.
David, it's funny to say that because I heard you guys talking before you let me in the show, and you were telling Mark your physical woes, and I don't know if you know it, but I think the name of your debut metal album is going to be Oral Surgery.
Oral Surgery.
Yeah.
I love
like
it.
The metal, the lost metal years. Anyway, it's called Chaos Kids. We wrote a song once a week for 8 weeks, and every time we wrote, it was just like, whoa, that song's really good. What the hell? And so we have 8 songs. It's called Chaos Kids, and it's kind of like No Doubt meets Paramore, and I think it's like I don't know. It's like 90s power. So I think it's pretty 90s power. Yeah, dude, it is friggin' great. And the lead singer, I thought of it because these are the first people that it wasn't like well to jam, I get an hourly thing, it sounds like it was like we just got together and just like got off on this thing and songs just came out of it and there's some magical chemistry and we wrote and recorded 8 songs and the lead singer's name is Rachel Mitchell. Her husband is named Bear Mitchell. He's the bass player. I'm the drummer. And I played a lot of guitar on it. We had another guy that was a guitar player and that helped us a little bit with the song or two. But for the most part, everything is written between me, Rachel, and Bear. And, they're in their mid-30s. So we're all hitting on this sort of 90s pop thing from a different angle. Like it was almost by accident.
I was going to say that sounds like a new accidental project by Scot Sax.
Yeah, a saxodental project. Yeah,
it's a saxodental project.
Scott, if you join Oral Surgery, can we call you Oral Sax?
Everybody's first name has to be Oral.
Yes.
No, exactly. Oral Sax.
I know, but yeah. Oral Sax would be great.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out too well with Oral Hershberger. That's like a
Hershberger.
Yeah.
How about and our sponsor will be Oral Redenbacher. Put that popcorn all the way in.
So tell us. All right. So Wanderlust doesn't quite. Things don't go well with RCA. Wanderlust is not happening the way you want it to, and now suddenly you've got it. Suddenly you've got a song in a big movie called American Pie, a song called I Am the Summertime. How in the world did that happen?
That was kind of, That was like kind of the first song that I wrote. That was like the beginning of the end for Wanderlust, interestingly. Um, that was when I was sort of going my way musically, and Rob was going the other way. And I Am the Summertime was like more of like a, funky little, Fender Rhodes kind of song.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when it was recorded, I recorded it with the Wanderlust while the burning embers were still burning, but we were like hanging on by a thread. Just trying to figure out like what's going on and what do we do and are we still like on a label? It was just confusing. So I recorded so we recorded it, and then I think it just doing anything with the band was just getting kind of hopeless. We weren't getting along. It was really painful.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just couldn't ride out the storm of everything that is just a bad experience with record label and who's getting what money, and when something succeeds, I think there's one kind of um, uh, it could be a shit show in ways, but if something doesn't financially succeed, it's another kind of shit show. In other words, like you could become rich and famous and hate each other, but it's probably better than if you don't become rich and famous and you really hate each other. You hate each other without good catering.
Right. And for
So,
anybody just checking in and wondering why you can't see Scott, he's now in the witness protection program, so we can't really show his face. It just happened in the last 20 minutes. So,
sorry.
Yeah, he's in a witness program somewhere in London. Oops. Sorry about that. Guess I'll have to move you now.
I never saw myself look so good.
Yeah, we were just commenting that.
Wait, I guess I could do this thing. Wait a second, I just realized. Hold on. Can I do that thing? Hold on. No, I can't. Okay, forget it.
That's no big deal.
Okay. Wait, I was gonna say. Wait a second. Wait a second.
Oh, look, we have you there.
Yeah, I just figured something out. There we go. That's better.
A little bit.
No,
had you a little lighter just a few seconds ago, so I'm not sure what happened.
I don't know.
There we go.
That's it.
All right, so we see it.
So I had I Am the Summertime, and then the band
Blair Witch Project. Yeah.
We just had a break. Yeah, we just had a break. We just broke up, and so the first thing I did after the band broke up was re-record the song with Mark. Mark and I stayed together, bass player from Wanderlust, and we recorded the official version of I Am the Summertime. And we didn't have a name for the band because I was just going to write songs for Warner Chappell and not be a band person anymore. But we wound up recording it in the studio. The songs keep coming, which is why I keep writing them. I keep recording them even now. But we were in the studio and we didn't have a name for the band, and so we laid our tracks down. And I remember Dusty Wakeman, the guy that produced it with us, when it was time to put the guitar part down. Dusty, he's sitting at the board and he goes, "Bachelor Number One."
Oh wow!
And I'm like, "That's the name. Let's call the band Bachelor Number One." And fun fact, and I may have told David this before, but a few years later, Amy Mann was in the same exact studio.
Oh yeah.
She named her album Bachelor Number Two because she saw our reel of tape on the shelf and said, "Is that a song or a band?" And they said it's a band. And she was like, "Well, I'm going to call the album Bachelor Number Two." So that's where that came from.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird? So anyway, we recorded that song. We called ourselves Bachelor Number One, and then I don't know what happened, but before I knew it, we had a song in the biggest comedy in the world, American Pie. Joey Alvarez at Warner Chappell asked me what. He's like, "Hey, I heard you just signed with Warner Chappell as a writer." I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "What have you been working on?" I was like, "Well, actually, I recorded a song today that's just sort of for something I'm doing. I may do like a thing like called Bachelor Number One or something. She said, "What's it called?" I said, "It's called I Am the Summertime." She's like, "Is it as summery as it sounds? Is it like a fun summer song?" I'm like, it's pretty fun summer song." She's like, could you get me a copy of that?" Anyway, I didn't know really who she was. I knew she worked at Warner Chappell, but I didn't know anything about anything like that. And she was one of the heads of film and TV, and I got a call the next day from them saying the directors love your song. There's this movie called American Pie, and they definitely want it.
Wow!
And then everything changed. It was like just insanity. It was really, really amazing. I think I rode the last wave of money because that doesn't happen anymore. I was one of those. Here's money to use your song. Here's money so you don't let anyone else use your song. Here's money to wait for us to tell you if we want to sign you also as an artist. Here's money to not tell anybody that we told you that you have to wait for us to know if we want to sign you as an artist. And here's some more money. Now get out of here. It was kind of like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was fine with that. But yeah, so that's what happened. And then, I don't know.
Didn't Bachelor Number One, did you record an album? I think I have it, but it didn't come out.
I don't know, man. I was just talking to Mark earlier today because I was like, man, remember last time we were in London? He's like, yeah, we were touring this Bachelor Number One. I was like, I remember that. I just, you know what? If there's anybody that does it just for the music, I should be at the top of that list because I have totally like screwed my career over so many ways, but it's always just because like I just want to like continue making, like I just keep writing songs and recording them, and you can call them what you want. So with Bachelor Number One, we had it didn't even make sense. Honestly, it didn't even make sense. But Mark and I had a bunch of songs that we recorded at our apartment, a bunch of songs I wrote, and very like sort of, I don't know, back, you know, but very home recording kind of things. And we just said, I guess this is Bachelor Number One. So we put out a CD and we called it the mini series. And it didn't even have Summertime on it. How's that?
No, I was very glad to have you guys at IPO. And you had Anne-Marie Cullen in the band at that time, right?
Yeah, I love that band. I really liked a lot of that stuff. Yeah, Anne-Marie Cullen, yeah, and Marty Bird. We almost got a deal. That's why I was in London all those years ago, because of Bachelor Number One. We signed with Edel UK, and they, because the Universal put out American Pie, and we were on the soundtrack, and they were going to sign us as artists as well, which was like huge. That was like, oh my God, this is bigger than Wanderlust RCA. This is huge. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because talk about people that were non-musical. I was like,
oh yeah,
it was. I did not like those people. I really didn't like those people. They were everybody was like Lou Reed in that scene of One Trick Pony, where he's like, yeah, here's some strings and backup singers on this part. You know what I'm talking about? You know that movie?
I don't.
No.
Oh,
no.
Lou, you gotta see it. It's Paul Simon, obviously. There's a whole movie called One Trick Pony with that song as a,
One Trick Pony. Oh, okay.
I've heard of it.
It's on my list.
Yeah, Lou Reed plays the record label exec that wants him to be more mainstream. You gotta. He's like, yeah. What I'm thinking is maybe some strings, backup singers, a lot of backups. It's just so funny. It's such a great. I mean, I don't know if the movie's great, but man, if you're a musician or love music, it's so painful. The last scene of it is like kind of epic. I won't tell you, but it's like one of the coolest scenes. But
One Trick Pony.
I can't remember. Yeah, it's a lot of like, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, it's great. So Paul Simon plays that. Paul Simon basically plays himself if Simon and Garfunkel only had like one hit.
Oh, okay.
That's what he plays, and he's trying to make a comeback. And Lou Reed is the so funny.
Yes,
So
that's how we're going to do it.
So tell us how did Feel form and get signed to Warner, to Curb, and all of that good stuff?
Man, you know, that was Feel was my second in, you know, I would say maybe 4 times in my life at this point where I was going for it. I mean, you know, going for it. And, you know, the disillusionment of Wanderlust was really painful for me. Really painful. You know, painful like therapy and medication. I mean, it just messed me up because I was on a path from 13 years old. And I just didn't, I don't know what happened. I was just like, what happened? I turned in like an amazing record with an amazing band. It's undeniable. This is really good shit, you know? And I just didn't know at that time that something good and that you believe in can very easily fail for a myriad of reasons. That was a tough pill to swallow. It still is, but it was really tough then because I didn't totally understand that. I just thought like good equals success. You know, I didn't really get that like, you know, there's a lot of extremely good and talented people out there that may never get as far as I've gotten, you know, and that's what blows my painful for everybody. With Feel, Mark and I, Feel was sort of like, you know, kind of like what Bachelor Number One was pretending to be. But I Am the Summertime went into the movie so fast. It just happened so fast, and the movie was already being ready to be released, that all of a sudden we had a song in a big movie and it's all over the world. And you know, and the cover of American Pie with the sticker said featuring like, you know, Sum 41, Matchbox 20, and Bachelor Number One, something like that. All the bands with them. So that was really fast. So we were trying to catch up with ourselves, whatever. But we finally had a second to breathe after the movie sort of had its time in the sun, and just like breathe for a second, and then okay, let's actually put a real band together, like a band. So me and Mark, and we had, you know, sort of found Billy Alexander, guitar player, harmony singer, and Dave Schaefer, drummer. They were great. Dave Schaefer had this like Mick Fleetwood thing going on. I never could find someone that just lived for the 2 and 4. Jim Cavanaugh didn't and still doesn't live for the 2 and 4, but it worked with Wanderlust because Jim Cavanaugh has that excitable kid style of drumming that was perfect for Wanderlust. But in Feel, I wanted it to be like a little more of a sort of sophisticated Fleetwood Mac thing or something. So Feel was really like, you know, Wanderlust, but acoustic. It was like an acoustic Wanderlust, at least, you know, with me playing the main, you know, center instrument. And I loaded that album up with like, I remember sitting with somebody and we had a conversation, a friend of mine in LA. We were at a bar and like Yellow Brick Road, they were playing the whole Yellow Brick Road album. And she's like, man, I wish somebody would make an album like that now. And I just remember instead of saying, yeah, I didn't say anything, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not saying I did that, but that was the thing that went off my head. I'm gonna make a fucking Yellow Brick Road album. I'm gonna make a really, which to me is like, I'm gonna make a great album. That's my goal. Right. I'm gonna make the best album I can. And we made that album, and we signed a deal with Curb Records. They never signed a rock and roll band before.
Wow.
And yeah, and but my God, I'm spacing on his name. It's horrible. Anyway, and I don't know. I think a couple things.
we got on the charts. We were on like, I don't know, adult rock, whatever those things are called. But we charted with "Won't Stand in Your Way." We charted with "Got Your Name on It," and we charted, and these were on like sort of adult rock contemporary. And then with and we never like toured. We went on a promo tour. We just went to radio stations, and that's all I remember. I don't, that's what we did.
Well, you also recorded an amazing power pop song called "She Makes the Makeup Look Good," which is on IPO Volume 7. Thank you so much for that. What an amazing song that was.
I love that song. Thank you.
That is a great song. Yeah, I had alluded to it earlier, Scott. Yeah. Platinum Rush, filmed by songwriter. We just lost Scott. Of course, I about ready to ask a nice in-depth question. I was all building up here, and Scott's connection went.
Yeah, he'll be back.
He might be back.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, while we're taking a short break, see if Scott will come back, because this has been one heck of a fun interview. I don't know if everybody else is enjoying this as much as I am. But,
well, we know Noelle is. She said so.
Yeah, Noelle.
I know somebody else said this is a fantastic interview, but I don't know who it was.
Yeah, Noelle knew somebody named Anne Marie.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know who Anne Marie was.
Anne Marie Cullen, yeah.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Who was in the band Saucy Monkey, who who also played IPO several times.
Nice.
In with Cynthia.
Noelle, nice to
but loving this. So Noelle, I will address your email. Thank you for sending it.
Nice to see you, and I hope you subscribe here on Facebook groups to Material Issues and/or on YouTube. Come back. We've got a lot of great guests. A lot of great guests in the archives too. So make sure you check it out. Oh, Luca
wow. Okay.
Nice. There we go. Yeah. Excellent. And again, let's see if Scott does come back while we're waiting. I did want to mention earlier, but I thought we'd just wait to the end of the show. But there's been a posting that I posted out of Material Issues, whatnot. Our good friend Billy Palicelli of Artful Dodger is having a rough time of it right now. It's on the Material Issues Facebook group, but there's a fundraising effort. Billy's been diagnosed with advanced stage 4 lung cancer, which is not a wonderful thing or prognosis, but there's always hope. There are people who can beat it, and so if you check out Material Issues Facebook group, there's a link there that if you want to help Billy out with some of the financial burden of all that. Of course, he was on our show last year with Stephen Cox of the
and please donate. And those aren't empty words, because I did.
Yep, ditto.
Yep. Thanks, Noelle.
And
Andy, yeah. Oh yes. It seems like these are things Scott hadn't thought about for years and years, and we were able to extract it from him. Those are the kind of interviews I really love too, because you can tell like the person being interviewed is, they're getting some lost insight into their own career. So it's kind of cool. We resurrected a bit.
No, we were talking a lot about his music. I was going to ask him about the film. I just watched it the other night, Platinum Rush, filmed by a songwriter, and it's a great film that he wrote and produced about just how tough it is to be a songwriter and trying to.
Yeah, I agree.
Trying to find that magic. You might do it once, but trying to find it again, and how hard it is. You could go a lifetime without repeating one little bit of moment of magic. It's a wonderful. I think it's out on YouTube right now, or one of those.
Well, we're really glad that he's still out there. Yeah, we're really glad that he's still out there playing, touring. I'm sure these shows are going to be awesome. I mean, Scott has played IPO many times.
Yeah,
and it's always great when he does "I Am the Summertime" live, because he'll morph it into other songs like "You Can't Always Get What You Want." So it ends up being like a 10-minute live thing.
Well, and if you're over in the UK or the Netherlands, you can check out scotsax.com and see where he's going to be live in the next 2 weeks or so. He's playing
something like that
tomorrow, I think twice in the UK. Then he heads over to the Netherlands for a few gigs, and then maybe back to the UK. So check out scotsax.com and go check out this wonderful singer-songwriter musician live. He doesn't get over there that often, so take this chance to go see him. Yeah, wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about who's going to be on next week, because this has been had to be rescheduled twice, and we're assuming it's going to actually happen next Wednesday, but next Wednesday, July 12th. But we named the show Material Issues. Actually, Mark came up with a name. I shouldn't say we, but I agreed it was not only cool, but apropos. Apropos because, of course, Material Issue was one of the most beloved pop bands, and I named my festival International Pop Overthrow in large part because of Material Issue's debut album. Jim Ellison, lead singer, passed away, and the two other guys are still doing music and doing their own things. But that's who we're going to have as guests. We're going to have bass player Ted Ansani and drummer Mike Zelenko of Material Issue. And we'll talk about, obviously, the band and the reforming with Phil Angotti as Material Reissue to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the International Pop Overthrow album. And, all the other stuff that they've done over the years. So it'll be great. It'll really be great to have them. And, we still have some irons in the fire, as always. And we'll tell you a little bit about them. Not sure if Scott's coming back. So we've already gone through an hour and 36. Maybe we'll just call it a day and we'll get him back on to finish the story.
Yeah, tell you what, since you were making the contact there, drop him an email or the message and tell him that we lost him, and we would love to have him back on a little bit down the road, and we'll finish up the second part of the story and talk about his film work and things. So, drop him a message so he knows we're doing this. But it's been great. What a great interview.
Yes, he's awesome.
Fantastic. And we'll see everybody next week for Material Issues with Material Issue. And and after that, the week after that, I think we're going to be on the Tuesday night because I'm going to have my surgery. David had his oral surgery. I'm going to have nasal surgery. That's going to be my album cover name, Nasal Surgery.
Yeah. There you go. No, but obviously, very good luck with that. And,
I'm looking forward to it.
So tomorrow I see my dentist again, and hopefully we get things worked out. By the way, next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, we have the 8th annual Harry Nilsson sing-along in LA at Molly Malone's. I will be emceeing, and there'll be several artists doing Nilsson songs. Should be about a 3-hour show. We actually tried to get Randy Newman to attend, but I guess he's not into it, which is no surprise because he's sort of reclusive. But that's okay. You got to try, right?
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, everyone, have a great rest of your week and weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
See you next week. Material Issues. Have a great night, everybody.